Hello and welcome to the Close Up Culture podcast. I'm James Prestridge, and as always, I'm joined by Anna Mayers. Oh no! Hello and welcome to the Close Up Culture podcast. I'm James Prestridge, and as always, I'm joined by normal people superfan Anna Mayers. Anna, how are you doing?
I'm good. It's quite funny because I didn't know when you stopped to redo that. Sorry, I'm calling you out. I was like, oh my God, are you going to call me short or something? And I'm joined
No,
by short Anna.
that would have been a great introduction.
That
Do you
that
know
would
what I
have
forgot to do? Maybe I should
what?
start again.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to the Close Up Culture podcast. I'm James Prestridge, and as always, I'm joined by bum ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba ba dun 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 Anna Mayers. I don't know. I
Yay!
ripped off your theme tune. I ripped off your theme tune.
I'm down with that. That was pretty cool. Yeah, that was very good. Thanks. Oh my. I didn't expect that. That was really good. I feel everyone's just in this kind of quarantine like meh of like whatever. So anything like just nice like that is like an extra like boost of happiness. So yeah, that was good. That
Before we jump into the two films today, there's actually something that I want to bring up, and it's something that we've both taken an interest in, and that's an Instagram page, and it's called COVID-19.dreams, and it's run by two filmmakers. And I actually submitted a dream to it, and it got posted, and I was really happy with how it looked because it did make me chuckle. But they actually then got featured on CBC, which is basically the Canadian equivalent of the BBC. So a very big deal. They got posted on the front page of their website, and my dream was a very prominent part of the feature, and it made me laugh so much. I'm like, wow, I'm famous. They read out my dream on on
oh
on
my
air.
gosh, James, I'm so happy for you. That's amazing.
It made me laugh
Um,
so much.
that is so good. It's actually quite funny because I posted about them on my Instagram and then on my personal Instagram so like all my friends could see this amazing account. And one of my friends actually sent in a dream, and it's the most recent one that she's been living with a T-Rex in the Friday night dinner. That's my friend Pip. And I was like, oh my
Yes.
gosh, as soon as she posted about it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy that her dream. But it's just such an aesthetic page. Like they use the same like four colors and the drawing style is so cool. And some of them are so wacky, but some of them are so wholesome. Like it's such a nice, good mix.
Some of them are really emotional, and then you get the more lighter-hearted ones, like "My leg hair became asparagus," which is
Yeah,
probably my favorite so far.
it's just so good. Like, and it's so interesting as well because obviously we chatted about this a little bit ago, just saying how we're both experiencing strange, strange dreams. So it's so nice to know that it's not just us, everyone else is going through this too.
I wonder what people in prison have for their dreams. I wonder if their dreams just become consumed by prison life. So you're always dreaming about prison, and it's just strange things happening in prison, or whether you're that hopeful, optimist prisoner who's dreaming of when they're finally free.
That's so interesting. Have you had any dreams that like feature quarantine or what we're going through or anything?
Not particularly. Nothing where I'm locked in the house. I fortunately haven't had any work dreams yet. That's what I'm worried about when I start having work nightmares, that
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
late for work when all I have to do is go downstairs or something like that. Those are the ones I'm dreading because I still have nightmares about handing in coursework late or missing an exam or making a mistake in football at high school. So I have definitely unresolved traumas from those times. So I could easily fall into that trap. How about you?
I've been having dreams where it's kind of been part of it. So I had a dream the other day where like I went to a music festival, but because of quarantine, it was like really tiny, like it was literally the size of like a living room, and there were like two tents there and no actual music happening at this festival. Um, which was extremely weird. And like I had to drive home, but I didn't want to drive home, so I got my mum to like come on the train to like pick up my car so she could take me home, to, like drive me home. But I was like checking that like trains were running because we were in quarantine, but I wasn't like separating myself from people. So it was really weird. It was like a niggling thought in the back of my mind, but it wasn't what the dream was about. But no, I feel the same. Like I have dreams where I'm like, oh my gosh, like running to be late and it's so stressful and like, oh my gosh, those are not fun dreams to have.
My dreams are very easy to deconstruct. A therapist would not have a difficult time with mine. I can spot all the insecurities, all the unresolved issues. They're so clear to see. So, yeah, I'm not sure if I enjoy dreaming too much. It's too stressful waking up the next morning and saying, James, you got to sort it out.
Oh my gosh.
Heading off on that, we have two films which are enough to give you anxiety dreams, and that is Tall Girl and Little Man. I feel like we should kick off with the slightly less stressful of the two, and that is Tall Girl.
When the tallest girl in what girl. When the tallest girl. Tall girl.
Tall Girl.
Tall girl. When the tallest girl in school in high school. Okay. Sorry, these are like the simplest ones.
Are you doing an impression of the sweetest guy in this film?
Oh my god.
Tall guy.
Okay. When the tallest girl in high school falls for a handsome foreign exchange student, she becomes embroiled in a surprising love triangle and realizes she's far more than her insecurities about her height have led her to believe.
I should say, we didn't say it in the introduction, we picked two films that are supposed to be really, really bad. Okay, so I picked Little Man, Anna picked Tall Girl.
Yeah.
Let's just start off straight out the bat here. Did you think this was a really bad film?
I hadn't seen it before saying that we wanted to do it for the podcast, so I only saw what the media had thought about it and what Twitter and stuff had posted about it. My thoughts on it from seeing it, it is a good basic teen romance comedy film, and it does look at the mental toll of insecurities and what they have on us. But I do feel that it kind of misses a mark. And it's a Netflix original, and I do think that it misses the charm that a lot of their other romantic comedy teen movies have and managed to achieve. So I wouldn't say it was a bad film, but I do feel that it does miss the mark a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely misses the mark, but I wouldn't say it was a horrific movie. It didn't have me banging my head against the wall like the other film we're about to talk about. I just thought it was bang average teen movie with a couple of charming characters, but not really any, as you say, not really any charm to the actual film itself.
Yeah.
Okay, where do we go from here?
I think we should go straight to the start and just remind ourselves of that quote that she says. You think your life is hard. I'm a high school junior wearing size 13 Nikes. Men's size 13 Nikes. Beat that. Okay. And it really reminded me of in the Kardashians where Kim loses her earring in the ocean and she's like, oh my God, I've lost my earring. And then I think it's Chloe who shouts back being like, Kim, there's people that are dying. And I hate people saying that people's problems aren't bad because someone always has it worse, someone always has it better. Like, I hate that. But I think that to begin with this kind of being like, you think your life is hard, beat that. It was very cringeworthy. And obviously, if she finds this really difficult, then that's understandable. And her parents are supportive, but at the same time, they're not doing the right thing. And the fact that her sister's this beauty queen, it must be so difficult. But I think to begin a modern film looking at important issues, to say kind of, you think your life is hard, I'm wearing shoes, beat that, is a bit, I don't know, it just made me laugh. Yeah.
It starts with her sitting in a library across from another guy, and they're both sitting down, so you know what's going to happen. She's eventually going to stand up, and he's going to be terrified, like a T-Rex has just walked in from Jurassic Park. What annoyed me actually most about this opening scene was not how obvious that payoff was, but they have that typical teen movie conversation where they're both profound in the way they're speaking. They're discussing this book as if they were in English class. I'm like, I've never heard one of these conversations before. I went to high school, I went to secondary school, I went to university, I had a lot of conversations. Never did I have one of those conversations. Never did I eavesdrop on one of those conversations. They only exist in these movies.
No, I completely agree. And as well, his face when she stands up is like, oh my God. In real life, that wouldn't happen. He'd be like, oh, I don't know, if he doesn't want to do it on a date, he'd be like, oh, I'm really sorry. Actually, this isn't for me. Or he'd be like, okay, cool. He wouldn't be bothered by her height.
Mm.
It's a bit mental. But no, I think that's the thing. It is just a typical teen rom-com, boring, basic film that I feel looks at issues and problems that these people have, but at the same time, I feel it really downplays big issues. Something that I thought really funny when a Netflix film starts, at the top it'll say like the name of it, the rating, and then like a warning or something. And the warnings for this film were discrimination and violence.
Hmm.
Violence being when I think that boy, what's his called name, like Duncan or something, or Dirk or something, I don't know. Um,
Let's call him Dirk. Let's just call him Dirk, okay?
um, like goes to like hit someone and then he gets like hit in the nose and he has like his nose bleeds. And then discrimination. The only discrimination I could see was the fact that she was tall, so she was discriminated against.
Yep. Yeah, it's what's the weather like up there?
Yeah, which I was like, I don't know, I feel this movie. I think if I was making this film, I'd say have the basis be that she's tall and feeling this is her problem. And understandable, if you've got a problem, it's okay to feel like that. But then I think it would have been better if, say, we'd have delved into her best friend's world, who I think should have had a film of her own. She is such a cool force to reckon with. And whether we'd have delved into how she feels about life and being at school and things. And then other things that people go through, like the idea of her sister being this beauty queen and what she goes through to be able to get to where she is, whether kind of eating disorders and stuff. And obviously that would have made it quite a heavy film. But I feel it would have been important to look at, obviously my problems are important, but the people around me also have problems. It isn't just me facing these things, it's everyone. I don't know, I think that would have been a nicer, more rounded, better story to have told to young people going through these things rather than just saying, I'm tall, that's my problem, and that's okay to have that problem, but then to not see that everyone else around you also has problems.
I'm trying to think of the movie, All the Bright Things, the other Netflix movie they did
Hmm.
quite recently. That did that quite well in the second half, where we had the emergence of all these other people with problems and people who, uh, first time we saw them, we just thought they were popular, they were happy, and you find out, there's some really dark stuff actually going on in their lives that they're hiding. This didn't really have that. It was just tall girl getting bullied, guy in love with her, and then all these strange kind of web of people liking each other, but another person not liking them. Like you say, didn't really ever get somewhere meaningful in this story. And we have the obligatory big prom night speech that gets her a big round of applause. Everyone suddenly changes their minds because she walks in a nice outfit and makes a speech. It's so false and forced, just like the obligatory teen movie ending. I did actually like the sister. I pretty found her the most charming character in this film. She almost floats in and out of the film like a fairy godmother or Cinderella or something. And she comes and she gives love and support, and she's always turning up in these fabulous outfits. I pretty got the most charm from her and also from Dirk, right? Dirk?
Dirk, it begins with a D. Well, yeah, the Dirk man or something. What does Stig call him? Like, I don't know. You will call him Dirk.
Do you know one of the big issues I also had with this film, and I thought it would be pretty more interesting to hear your perspective on this than mine, is that the male that everyone lusts over is one of the blandest, least charismatic male love interests I've ever seen in a TV movie. He's an incredibly handsome dude. Can't take that away from him. And obviously, I'm not sure if he's Swedish in real life, but maybe that handcuffs him slightly that he's not a native American speaker, but a Native American speaker. He's sorry, that sounds terrible. He's not an American. He's not got an American accent. But my God, he was not very interesting beyond his looks.
No, I completely agree. Yeah, so what was he like? So he was kind of nice. He had about him that, yeah, he looked nice. He could play the piano and he liked musicals. Um
And he
he
wasn't
was
the best.
tall.
He wasn't the best looking guy in Sweden.
No, he wasn't the best looking guy, which I thought was funny. I think it's important that it did look at that. That I don't know, in some societies, this is really beautiful, and in some societies, this is not. And I thought that was really interesting. But it did make me even more sad for Dirk. I was calling him Dirk, and that would be somebody that actually was his name in the film. I don't know. But how like in Sweden, he like kind of anywhere he wouldn't look nice. He got from kind of Stig explaining that he was a bit of a dork himself. So I don't know, but I don't know. It did kind of solidify this fact that for me, this girl, the star of this film, is beautiful. She's tall. She's blonde. She's slim. She is kind of what the mainstream Western standards of beauty are. And she could be a model. With how tall she is, she would be a model. Like Carly Kloss, she describes herself as like a 6'2" giraffe, and yet look at her. She's living this fantastic life. She's a businesswoman. She is a model doing fantastic things. One of my best friends, she is 5'8", 5'9". So kind of compared to me, she's really tall, but she uses that to her advantage. She like does modeling and photography and stuff, which is so cool. And I think it would have been a lot better if instead of just kind of accepting her height, she's like, this is who I am, if she'd have been like, actually, this is who I am, and with it, I will do whatever I want to do. Which I thought was really cool. And that's the thing, she loved playing the piano, and actually she used that to her advantage because she did have longer fingers and stuff. So for me, I did feel it was a bit silly. Like they've chosen someone who is absolutely gorgeous and model material. But at the end of the day, I guess that's the thing as well, that not everyone who is at school is model material. So I guess that the average number of people, they are beautiful. So if you're not in that number of people and you are taller and what would the world would say is a model, whatever, you're obviously not a model. That doesn't make sense. Does that make sense? Like the stereotypical people in school all grouped together, and that is what beauty is. So if you're out of that, even if you would be classed as a model in the real world, you won't be seen as that because you're not the stereotypical what everyone else is. Do you feel being a guy, there's like this pressure to be tall, like over 6 foot and stuff, especially kind of in school, throwback to feelings you had then about your height? Or is it not something that boys really think about?
The only ever insecurities I had about my height, and there were very few, was that in football I used to play in goal, and I was never tall enough to be a goalkeeper, and that really held me back. That was the only ever insecurity I had. But I mean, just normal day to day at school, I never had any problems with that. But I'm kind of average height. I'm not tall. I'm not really short necessarily. But definitely, I saw people at school being bullied for being short, but never for being tall. It was never. I mean, being tall for a guy is typically obviously a good thing, and I think that's even touched on in this film. So I mean, for me, I didn't really relate to this character in any way, and it did just feel like they'd basically taken your teen movie model and substituted out unpopular and ugly stroke will have a makeover and look good for tall, and then it's just the same movie basically. It's not really much wiggle room there. It's just the same. Actually, one of the frustrating things I found in this film as well was just stylistically how bland it was as well in terms of the visuals and the music. It didn't do anything to grab me or hook me with that either. It was just very bland, a bland watch. And particularly early on, there was a montage scene where she was getting a big makeover, and I was like, this music isn't really connecting. They're doing these quite low production side swipes, which I feel like you should have done an up swipe if we're talking about vertical and heights. Just very bland. It didn't have that zing. Sometimes with these teen movies, there's quite fun editing going on. There's lots of color and interesting things. Not so much here.
Yeah, no, I felt the same. It was just a simple teen film where everyone could guess what the end was going to be. Yeah, although it did make me think, kind of, would the whole world have seen it as a completely different film if instead of tall girl, it was, I don't know, fat girl or slim boy or that's it, short boy or something like that. You know what I mean? Poor girl, rich boy. That's the thing. I feel that it had got a lot of bad to say about it, but actually it did look at something, a problem that someone can't necessarily change and they just have to embrace. There's been a lot of stuff recently. I don't know if you've seen pictures, but Adele recently posted photos for her birthday. And Adele is a fantastic Grammy Award-winning singer. And early on in her career, up until quite recently, as far as I'm aware, she was a bigger person. Whereas now she's lost a lot of weight and has posted pictures, and people are saying like, "Wow, like she looks amazing, she looks incredible." But actually, she's looked incredible this entire time throughout her whole career. She has looked fantastic, whereas people are only beginning to say that she's beautiful now because she's lost lots of weight and is really slim. And I guess it's one of those things that this looks at something that you can't change. You have to accept it. So I guess it's quite a nice film because it looks at something that is different. I haven't seen, apart from another film we're going to look at, where it really focuses on height and stuff, and where it's something that you physically can't do anything about. Whereas your weight, you can try and change it. Your wealth, you can try and change that. But with this, there's nothing you can do about it. Looking at that, what were your thoughts on the parents in the film and how they kind of dealt with stuff? Because I just thought it was mental that one of the first times we saw the parents, it was the dad when, I don't know, was she like 3 years old or something? And he was like, can we do like growth hormone therapy? Will that stop her from growing? Because I was like, how disgusting is that? Like, if I was a child and saw my parents talking about me like that, like, I'd want to be like her and change myself. Yeah, we've obviously spoken a little bit about Sabrina Carpenter, who plays her sister, but what were your thoughts on the parents?
My main note with the parents was just the choice of casting, because they
Yeah.
had Angela Kingsley, who most people know from The Office, and then Steve Zahn, who's been in a bunch of stuff. He's been around forever, it feels like. Both notorious for being on the shorter side. I always think Steve Zahn, the thing that I remember most from his Friends, where he plays one of Phoebe's old friends who she thinks was gay, but turns out he's not. He's an ice dancer, and he's a lot tall. He's a lot shorter than her then. So obviously they just chose them for that pure visual reason. But in terms of the actual parenting within the film, I can't. I watched this yesterday. I can't even remember. I didn't make any notes about the parents either. No, maybe. I mean, that's just maybe just to underscore the fact that no one really knows how to support her here, and they are trying, but maybe they're not finding the right way of accepting her. And obviously, her insecurities run all the way from high school through to how her parents treat her.
Yeah, I just think it's funny how the mum was all about kind of how she looked and was taking her to the shops and was very for her sister to be a beauty pageant queen and doing everything she could to look the best. And the dad, yeah, was whether he felt kind of like this isn't normal, I need to be a dad and do something about it and make my daughter happy. But through that, it made her feel very unhappy. But no, like you say, it's hard to remember them because even though they're in the film, they're not as important in the film, kind of as her friends and things. Yeah. Oh, I've just looked, and he's called Jack Dunkelman, so it's not Dirk. Yeah.
Oh,
Shall we look at her kind of two love interests? So we have Jack Dunkelman, aka Dirk. We've been calling him just to keep everyone up to date.
Dirk.
And then Stig, who is the exchange student.
Wait,
Yeah,
his name's Stig.
Stig.
As
Yeah.
in Stig, 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 Stig in the dump. My friend, your friend, our friend.
Oh my gosh. Uh, yeah, his name's Stig. Um, yeah. What were your thoughts on Jack? I have many
um,
thoughts on Jack.
yeah, okay. So if I had a friend who I clearly said to them, I'm not interested in you in that way, and then every day they were hounding me for a date, and I know the film tries to present it in a sweet way, mostly because the fact that she's taller than him, so he can almost get away with it. It almost reverses the gender role there. But I feel like not a very good way to make you like a character to see him hounding her in that way every day and just being, frankly, quite annoying and a bit of a jerk throughout this film.
No, I completely agree. How annoying would it be if you said no to someone and then that's it every day? They're constantly kind of peering over you, peering at you, talking to you, and just kind of not accepting what you have said is so annoying. And the fact that he's one of her two best friends as well, it just makes it so kind of rude and like he's only thinking about himself, which is really mean. And had you guessed from the start, I certainly hadn't, why he carried a crate around as his school bag.
So I feel like I must not have paid attention to this film. He carried a crate around.
Yeah, it was one of the first things that like so Jodie, the main girl, was like telling us about her friends and like I think it was a narration where I can't really remember, but she was like, he carries a crate around as a school bag, and I don't know if he's being quirky, but it's a bit weird. And to be honest, that is a bit weird. But then at the end, when like they're together and he goes to kiss her, he's like, this is why I've carried it around. And so he turns it over and so he can stand on it to kiss her.
Holy
Oh
crap.
my God.
Oh, that is honestly, I'm rewriting my 50 most romantic film scenes of the decade. Number one is Crate Kiss.
Oh my God. Thing is, it's cute and it's sweet, but it's creepy because he has just assumed from the start of liking her that one day she will say yes to him, and if he keeps pestering her, then that'll be right. And that teaches boys that if you keep pestering people that you like, teaches anyone really, if you keep pestering someone long enough, they'll say, yeah, but that isn't the truth.
Yeah, all you've got to do is stand up for her at some point and get in a fight, and she's going to turn around and say, you know what? I was wrong about all your pestering. Turns out it was romantic. Jump on that crate, boy. Let's smooch.
Yeah. And then going on to Stig, um, he reminded me a lot of in Mamma Mia. Do you know what's his name? Harry, Bill. Is his name Bill?
The one who's played by one of the Skarsgårds.
Yeah, I think it's Bill. It's not Harry. Bill. It's Bill. It's Bill Anderson, I think. What's I've forgotten the name of the other dad. Oh my God. If my mum's listening to this, she's like shouting, it's but he reminded me of him, just kind of a sweet Swedish man with long hair, long blonde hair. Um, yeah, I thought it was crazy that how he was suddenly loved and wanted friendship from everyone and stuff. And for me, I found that interesting. One, obviously he's beautiful, so that's one of the reasons. But like in real life, if there was an exchange student, like not that you'd leave them out on purpose, but it's a bit like I don't know them. Why would I let them join my gang? Obviously, you wouldn't do it in a mean way, but you know what I mean. It's like not typical school behavior. I don't know if it would have been better possibly if he hadn't have been kind of accepted by the school community and then maybe Ava had gone over and been like, hey, um, like you can join our gang if you want. And then the school bully had seen and were like, we need to mess with her now. And she does something with that. I don't know. It just made him seem very kind of unattainable and made him seem really rude then for what he turned into. Um, yeah, he confused me. He was a very like two-faced person, and I didn't appreciate that.
No, I feel like they did try and explain why he was so two-faced and why he was so conflicted in the sense that he wasn't used to being the popular kid and he kind of got thrust into this situation where he wanted to try out what it was like, but he actually really liked tall girls, so he was split between the two, and obviously eventually he chose the cool option and got caught out by being filmed.
That's it, yeah.
As I said, I didn't really find him enough of an interesting character, and I think he does pale in comparison to we've had Noah Centino. How do I pronounce the second name?
I don't know. Sen and yeah, Senti. Just say Sentino.
Yeah, we've had Noah Centino, who's really lit up some of these Netflix teen romance films. He's kind of the standard now. So, Swedish guy, obviously going for something very different, didn't quite come off for me. And on the topic of him, what did you make of the mean girl in this film? Because the mean girl did not make any impression on me whatsoever in this film. Nothing really about her apart from she gobbles up the guy pretty quickly and she says a couple of mean things. That's pretty
That's
much it.
it. She is just a typical like this, one of these boring teen movie bullies that has kind of nothing about her. And that's it. She's just always, since they were young, bullied Jodie because she was tall, and I don't get it. Like, if I was Jodie, I would have like completely wiped her out of the face of my planet and like just ignore her and like so over it. And it's the kind of thing that she was still invited to parties and like still going to all these things. It's like, what, you'd just stop, wouldn't you? Like, you wouldn't let that negativity become a big part of your life. But yeah, she was just a typical bully. I think it would have been good if, I don't know, again, it would have been typical, but at the same time quite nice to know why she bullied her, whether at the end she was like, actually, you're beautiful, you're model material because you're tall, and I'll never be able to get to that because of the height I am, or something like that. You know what I mean? She was mean just for the sake of being mean because she thought that she could pick on Jodie. Like, there wasn't really a reason or a background story. I thought that would have been a good thing to do. But again, I guess that the filmmakers saw her as a mean person and just wanted to keep her as that and have no redeeming kind of quality about her.
Anna, I've had enough of Tall Girl. I will say that this wasn't bad enough to ridicule. It certainly wasn't good enough to watch. And it was just mediocrity for me. One that I will blot out of my mind fairly easily and fairly quickly.
Yeah, this isn't a Netflix kind of teen film that I'd recommend or watch again. The only kind of thing that stood out for me was Sabrina Carpenter's character. I love her music and I love her, but it made me think she plays a character called Haley in The Hate You Give, which is a fantastic film, which again looks at what Netflix have given here as the trigger warnings, discrimination, and violence in a way that I think is really important for everyone to see. So I think if you are looking for a teen film that looks at issues and how to possibly solve them, and it's high school and things, definitely give The Hate You Give you a watch. We're not saying that obviously Jodie's problems aren't important, but I think definitely like the Kardashians, there are people dying, and you just have to make the best out of a bad solution. Yeah, you're tall, but use that to your advantage. Like, do amazing things. I'm short. I just have to get over it. And forever people will say, oh, you can't reach this or do that. But that's who I am. You can't let people bully you about it forever. Otherwise, you're just going to be sad.
Yeah, it is that thing. While she's in high school, it feels like the end of the world. As soon as she gets out of high school, she's going to have incredible opportunities come her way with that kind of physical uniqueness, I guess. So I'm guessing thumbs down for both of us here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to a film that I don't think a thumbs down would do it justice. I feel like we're going to need to come up with a different way of rating this film, and that is Little Man.
Daryl and Vanessa adopt Calvin, who they assume is a baby, when he is found on their doorstep. Little do they know that Calvin is actually a thief who has stolen the diamond and has hidden it in Vanessa's bag.
I've got a bit of a mystery off the bat here, Anna. Okay.
Okay.
I'm just going to jump into the first scene, and it's we see Little Man doing his pull-ups in prison, and then we cut to his cellmate who's got his arms up. I can't work out what he was doing. It's just terrible acting. I'm just going to call it out. Do you remember the scene?
Yeah, I always thought, is he like leaning over a toilet or something? Or like near something? I
over a
always thought that
sink.
he was like, instead of having his arms up to do something, he's like arms up, like, don't hurt me, like I'm shoved in the corner, you know what I mean? Like I feel threatened by you.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if he was spotting for Little Man, like ready to catch him, got his hands up, or whether he was scared. It didn't make sense to me.
Oh my gosh, I've never seen it as that. I think this is possibly the third time I've seen this film in my life.
No,
Um,
no, 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 no. Why?
okay. Oh my gosh. So I used to be an au pair, and the
Wait. Don't tell me the kids watch this film.
the young boy, one of his favorite films was this film.
No. How old is this kid? How old is this kid?
9, 10.
Holy crap. No. He's
I
going to
know,
be
right?
messed up. He's going to be
I
so
know.
messed
Yeah,
up.
I know. So yeah, we used to watch if I was ever babysitting them in the evening or whatever, we'd watch a film or something. And one day this was his choice, and we watched it. And then later on, a few months later, he watched it again, so I watched it with him. And then I watched it again the other day for this. So as far as I see it, I just see him being terrified of Calvin.
You've walked through hell 3 times.
I know.
Holy crap. So you should have an expert opinion. You probably watched this film more than any other person.
Probably, unless that boy's watched it a lot more times.
We have a little man super fan over here. Okay, so obviously I feel like we should just call out what the hell were they thinking in doing in having this, sorry, this visual
Take your time.
of CGIing this actor's face onto a little person's body and at times a baby's body. It is the most jolting visual ever. Do you know what it reminded me of? It reminds me of a bad graphic PS1 game.
Yeah, like all little pixels and stuff.
And the faces are kind of all over the place.
Like the Harry Potter game.
Yes, and the heads don't quite look like they belong. And when they start speaking, there's suddenly the neck's not really attached properly.
Yeah.
And that's this whole movie.
Oh my gosh. That's one thing that always throws me off. Like, one, why not use kind of an actual dwarf to play this dwarf character? Two, I don't know if they did change bodies for Calvin, because like you said, sometimes he was like a little baby and sometimes he was like a toddler, which freaked me out because sometimes he'd look like, yeah, he was like 4 or 5 years old, and other times he would look like, I don't know, 1 year old. So that really throws you off because it's like, how old, like Cal, whatever his names are, Daryl and Vanessa just appear to be so dumb.
Yeah, well, we'll get to how stupid everyone in this film is. But to answer number one there, crap, what was your number one there?
Why didn't they get a dwarf to play?
Yeah,
a dwarf.
So to answer your number one there, this film is in no way sensitive enough to think like that. No. No way would they have thought, oh, let's actually get a real dwarf actor who can come with some experience here. They have no sensitivity whatsoever. And obviously, I'm not sure how famous this actor is. Maybe he was quite famous at the time, famous comedy actor. I don't really recognize him, to be honest.
Well, I did some Googling, and they are the Wayans brothers, and it's like a big family, and 3 of them were part of it. 3 of them wrote it, and then one of the 3 directed it, and the other 2 were Calvin and Daryl.
Okay, well, I want an investigation into this family because there's something wrong there. There's something wrong in those minds. No, and then bringing up whether they use the same body for Calvin all the time, they certainly didn't, because there are times when you can tell it is a dwarf, and there are times when you can clearly see it's a baby. And there's actually one scene where he's being led away by his 2 adoptive parents, and you can see it's a little child walking, by the way he's walking and the little hands. That child, if you're listening to this podcast by some strange, bizarre coincidence, get in contact with me and we will put a lawsuit out on these people because the fact you're involved in this film is criminal. You poor thing.
Oh my God.
Definitely some kind of mistreatment going on there. So we'll get you a settlement.
Yeah. I hope that they're okay and not having to go to like therapy to deal with the issues that they went through.
Imagine growing up and your mom saying, do you remember when you were in a movie when you were younger? You're like, wait, what? And then you sit down and watch this and you go, Mom, seriously, what have you done to me?
Oh my God. Like with Tall Girl, I didn't see the warnings for this film, but there probably were kind of violence, language, and whatever. But do you know how sometimes when you hover over a film on Netflix and 3 words come up to describe it, whether it's like comedy, romance, teen, or something like Tall Girl would be? Well, for this one, the 3 words slapstick, absurd, and raunchy came
up. Yes.
Oh my gosh. I thought that was so funny.
There's a lot of just god awful slapstick in this, but I want to get to raunchy because raunchy is definitely
Oh
where this
my.
film goes from bad to extremely dark and troubling.
Yeah.
And what is most troubling is the fact that it's so unaware of how dark its humor is, and it just plays it off as like, ha ha ha, cutesy, this is funny. Okay, so let me see if I can call out all these bad moments. Please tell me if I've missed
Oh,
anything.
I wrote
So,
down a big list of where
oh,
Calvin should be arrested for sexual assault.
do you want to list these off? Do you want to list these off then?
Well, I can list some, you can list some, we can list them. I wrote down every time I think that he should have had something happen to him. Um, but obviously, and actually, the list isn't as long as I thought it would be, but that doesn't make it good.
These are
Okay.
all crimes, though, that could land him some serious prison time and get him
Yeah,
on a few lists.
yeah. So we have first one. I've just put touches people's boobs.
Yes.
Like he was very he abused and used his power of a baby to touch lots of boobs. He tried to push Vanessa onto his penis.
Yes. Yes, that was pretty dark.
Okay, and then even darker, had sex with Vanessa in the night, but she thought it was Daryl.
Yes,
So then
so
she wakes up and was like, "Damn, like boy, let me get you some breakfast. Like we did it twice last night." And he's like, "Twice? What? What girl? What you on about?" And Calvin's just sat there like, "That is rape."
yep, we have literal
Um,
rape in this movie.
yeah, and then at one point when they're at the hockey game, he says to the woman selling beer at the hockey game that she has a nice ass, and when she reacts badly, he calls her a tramp. Like, oh my gosh. And then something that we possibly assume at the end of the film, when they actually have a baby of their own, Daryl and Vanessa, and Vanessa's dad is looking at her like, "Oh, you're so cute." And then whatever his name is, Calvin looks over and is like, "Oh, he looks just like his dad." And then we see the baby's face. Again, that assumes that Calvin has possibly impregnated Vanessa with his sperm.
Oh no, this is just so dark and
Oh
horrible.
my God. And the fact people think this is like funny. Oh my God. And the people writing it, like, no, that is rape. That is bad. Like, that is
I
not good.
If I'd have gone to see this in the cinema when it came out and I had turned to my right and the person next to me was laughing during this, I definitely would have turned them into the police. There's not a chance I'd let someone who find this humorous get away with it. You actually missed out one crime, and it's he doesn't actually commit the crime, but he shows intent to. And that's when he's in the playground and he's gambling with all these kids, bad in itself.
Oh my God, yeah.
And then he offers to sell them pictures of naked ladies. And these aren't even teenagers. These are kids who are like 8, 9 years old, possibly younger, and he's offering to sell them pictures of naked women. That is just
Oh my
terrible.
God. And then, yeah, they all run off screaming, being like, oh my gosh. And then he's like, what's the problem? Do you not like breasts or whatever he says? It's like, dude, dude. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's crazy because you were just saying that if someone found this funny, you'd like call the police. When I was watching it with the child I used to look after, he'd laugh, but not at bits like this. He wouldn't look concerned. He would just not be bothered by stuff like this because obviously he doesn't get it like we do. But he would laugh when they'd hit each other in the groin, like moments like that. And I think that is the times where they've just used slapstick too much. Like I want a supercut of like all the times where someone's punched in the penis in this film.
Anna,
Oh my
the
God.
ending, and this is a beautiful piece of writing, okay? Spectacular Screenwriters Guild worthy writing. Oscar for Best
Oh my God.
Screenplay. It's a great callback moment where earlier in the film they're at the park and they're throwing this aeroplane and a little man gets it to swing round and hit his adoptive father in the nuts. The same thing happens at the end for the baddie. They throw the aeroplane, hits the baddie in the nuts. What a beautiful callback moment. Just a great
Yeah,
piece of writing. Really rewards the viewer who's been paying attention and could see that coming and said, haha, we know he's about to get hit in the nuts.
that is beautiful. That
Um,
yeah, that mirroring come back to yeah. I think that is possibly the best bit of the film.
oh, it's a beautiful piece of writing. Actually, I wanted to ask you, was there a joke in this film that made you laugh? Was there a moment in this film that you actually said, okay, take it out of the context of this movie and this would work okay?
I think there are some bits that are really good. It's a bit like, I don't know, if you'd taken bits out and they were in a kids' film, that would be great. And if you had some bits in an adult's comedy film, that would be great. A bit like at the start where they're trying to steal the diamond and the dog gets into the bag. I think that would be great in a kids' film, something like that, where they're trying to steal something and this dog's come in and they think that the dog's being stolen. Something like that was funny, but I didn't laugh out loud at it, but it is funny. And like the plane scene, and when Calvin says to his friend, whatever his name is, like Pity P or something, I don't know. Like it's in one of those bags, the one with the duck on, and then they look and they've all got ducks on. Like I think that would be funny if it was in that's it, like an adult film where they're looking at kids and stuff. Because people who have children all seem to have the same things, I feel. I don't know. Yeah, there were funny bits, and there wasn't a time where I laughed out loud, but there were times where I was thinking if that was in a different context or something. A bit like I said, how the boys look after would laugh at bits when they got hurt, and stuff would do well in a different film. But I feel in this, it is just so like Little Man said, like Netflix says, even like so absurd that it's just not funny really at all.
Yeah, I can get behind absurd comedy, but this is just darkly absurd and just completely unaware of itself. I actually thought the worst piece of slapstick, going back to slapstick real quick, the worst piece of slapstick in this film was one of the worst. I can't really say the worst because there's so many bad ones. Is in the final few scenes where little man's being carried upstairs by this evil crook to put him into bed. They still think he's a baby at this point, and
These people are so dumb.
it's we'll get into well, that's what we'll go to next, Anna. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
So the crook puts him in bed and turns off the light, and then like Bam Bam in the Flintstones, little man gets up and starts whacking this crook over the head. He turns the light back on. He's like, "Oh no, what happened?" Turns the light off again, starts whacking him on the head. And this happened about 3 or 4 times, and it's not funny, nor is it interesting. It's not anything. I was just like, "What is this?" I can't imagine the director standing behind the camera and being like, "Do it one more time. This is gold."
It's a bit like in Home Alone or something, isn't it? Like just these kind of OTT stereotypical characters. Like yeah, Home Alone when they're being hit with paint tins or toys and stuff, and they're just completely destroyed. It's it's just crazy. And again, like that scene where he is hitting the man over the head with the club. Obviously, it's kind of they use the shadow a bit in the dark, but I just feel the whole size and proportion and stuff in this film, like we were saying, they possibly use different actors to portray the little man. um, just everything felt so not right. All the proportions just didn't fit.
And the actor himself, who's been CGI'd onto this, his facial expressions were terrible. I mean, he did obviously he's in this real ridiculous movie, so he's overhamming it, and they're really exaggerated. But I even think the one of the first times we're really focusing on his face is when he's looking through the window at the couple just before he's about to infiltrate the family, and they're having just this fairly normal conversation, like exposition conversation, and his face, I can't really describe it. It's all over the place, and I'll do a little. Oh, you can even see my face. I'll do a little example for you here, but it's like. And I'm like, you're not even reacting to what's going on. You're just pulling as many stupid faces as you can.
It always made me like freak out slightly when he like smiled and you could see like every tooth in his mouth. And it was like if a child smiled at me like that, I'd be like, get that out of my house right now.
Okay. Well, that's a good transition into how stupid everyone is in this movie, okay? This kid, this dwarf gets taken to the doctors, and the doctor doesn't realize that this is a grown man.
Oh my. Oh my. Yeah. Who would tattoo a baby?
He's got bridge work. This like
He's either had his appendix out or he's been stabbed. Dude, do your job. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was a wild ride. It was an adventure. And it does make you question like people and their sanity and everything. Like I just can't say the words. Oh my. Oh my. And it makes you think as well, kind of the people working on this film. You understand it slightly differently when you know that the two people starring in it wrote it and their brother is directing it. But if not, you would think like, wow, like who has written this and who would want to be in this? Like the way it is, like the fact it does look at kind of rape and stuff in a funny way. Like as a female acting in that, I'd be like, no, I'm not doing that. That's weird. Like, can we at least address it at some point? Being like, wow, if we know he's a man, like, what has he done? Um, and there was at one point when they're doing like the father-son football game, and one of the mums is like, "Put it in, Putin," and the dance she's doing, and all the other mums are looking at her like, "Oh my God, like that is so kind of provocative." There were just so many moments where it was like, this I don't think would have existed if it hadn't have been brothers willing to be like, yeah, we'll be in this kind of thing. Otherwise, I don't think, like, how can some amazing indie films not have the money and respect they deserve, but then this was given a budget of $60 million? Like, what the heck?
And I bet you 50 million of that went onto the bloody CGI face.
Oh my God.
I guarantee it. No, how on earth did women agree to be in this film? Like reading that script and just thought, you know what, this is something that I'd like to be involved in. You would have thought they would have just said, no, you guys are sick and twisted.
Yeah.
Because none of the characters have redeemable qualities. Maybe it's just worth just talking through the female characters because, as you mentioned, the kind of cheerleader trophy wife, and then even the other friend who's considered the ugly friend, and that's kind of the tag she gets because when little man's going to be breastfed, he suddenly gets terrified because it's going to be her boob. I'm like, dude, you're a predator. You're a
Like,
sexual
dude,
predator.
yeah, why does it matter what boob it is, man?
Exactly.
Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it it reached levels that I don't feel have been used in a film before. And I think it's like funny and stuff when people do um joke about sex and stuff in films, and there are kind of slapstick moments and funny stuff, but to have it done in such a way that this Calvin is a predator and a bad person and a bad role model and just an all round bad guy. The fact that he receives no kind of consequences for his actions, it does make me kind of worry that people watching it must think that, oh, that's okay. If he can do it, then I can do it. Or yeah, the little boy I used to look after, if he sees this on screen, obviously when he saw it, he possibly didn't understand those moments. But yeah, hitting people in the groin and stuff like that, if he thinks that that's okay, that's a funny thing to do, then what's stopping him from doing it, kind of thing.
I cannot believe the cheek of this movie to give us an ending where little man, not only is he just forgiven immediately for doing all these horrible things, but he gets some money for it as well. He gets a little bit of
Yeah.
pocket money and he gets accepted into their family and he's allowed to help raise this kid. I would not let that guy anywhere near a
No,
child.
no, literally not. Oh my God. What did you think of the granddad? So Vanessa's dad, who like straight away was like, damn, that is not a baby.
I mean, maybe the only character with some kind of redeemable qualities because he just called it out straight away and he
Oh, it was
was the
so
only
good.
one who actually understood what was going on.
Yeah. Oh, and the teddy bear knows. The teddy bear knows. Oh my gosh. One of the reasons you said about this film was because you said that was it Mark Commode
Hmm.
had said that it was like a movie straight from the depths of hell or whatever. Do you have any quotes of what he said or what he's thought about it or any other things? I have open whilst we record, just like the information just so I can see like who's played who and when it came out and whatever. And I can often see reviews from people, and it's crazy to see that some people have been like, "This is absolutely mental," but is kind of what is expected from these foul-mouthed brothers who have done kind of similar films and stuff. And but it's quite funny because someone's put none of it is very predictable. That makes no sense. None of it is very funny. The gags are both predictable and uneven. So I'd love to know what Kermode himself said about this film, and the fact that he describes it as something as close to From the Devil or whatever he said.
I don't
It's so funny.
I don't think Commode ever did a written review. I think he only did a radio review, so I can't actually find an article
Oh, okay.
by Commode on the film. But yeah, he did say, I think it's possessed by the devil, I believe is the quote.
I have just done a little bit here from the BBC Radio 5 live show that he did. And his quote here is, "If you go and see Little Man, shame on you."
Oh my word.
Oh my gosh.
Well, a lot of people did because it made almost double its money back.
Yeah, it made like 100 million, which is, yeah, nearly double that. Oh my gosh. Let me go on this where I've seen this quote and see if I can see anything else. Okay, so I have a quote. So this is from BBC Radio 5 Live, Mark Kermode. "An evil-minded, bad, profoundly depressing indictment of the way the modern movie industry works. Retrograde, horrible, nauseating, inward-looking, smug, repulsive, grotesque, ill-advised, badly judged. It is, and I mean this seriously, evil."
Amen. I completely agree. Sheer evil. I have a little conspiracy theory about the ending of this film. Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention. You can immediately dispel it. Is Vanessa in any of the final few scenes?
No.
Okay, my conspiracy theory here is the only reason she agreed to be in this film, I'm giving her credit here, is that Little Man was going to get his comeuppance. But I believe they said, yeah, write in the script that he's going to get locked away, so she agrees to be involved. And actually, they fooled her. They gave us this new ending where Little Man gets off scot-free, becomes best buddies with the dad, well, with the husband, and the final joke of the film is that they're going off to a strip club. Do you think there's any... Because she's not in there at all. Why wouldn't she be in there at all if they weren't
Yeah,
gonna...
that is weird. And the fact that she's had a baby, you would have thought, like, even if we'd have seen her put the baby into the crib and be like, "Oh, hi, Dad," and then the dad's like, "Oh, wow, look at that little boy," and then Little Man comes over like normal. That is interesting, because that's it. As soon as, because she's not even there. Yeah, the last time we see her is when she's like, "I gotta go get my dad," when they realize that he's like a bad man. So she disappears to go and get her dad, and that's when obviously it all happens with the fight and stuff. Yeah, oh my gosh.
Because
Vanessa.
there's literally no way Vanessa could come back and see that this child is actually a grown man and then think, oh yeah, he shoved my face into his crotch, and not say, you're a pervert rapist, go to jail. No, it's a lot more difficult to her to wave this all off like the husband does.
Yeah. Oh my, and the fact that, yeah, Daryl and Calvin just become BFFs. Like, you would have thought, like, man, I had a bath with you. Like, oh my God. Like, what the heck? Oh, Daryl has some issues himself. I think it's just the fact that he wants to become a dad, that he'll do anything to have a little presence in his life.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Calvin has become this so much so that I think he's just willing to accept that and forgive him. And also the fact that Calvin has helped him not die from the bad guys coming to his house and thinking that he's the one who stole the diamond. So I think that he owes Calvin his life, but the way that he's treating Calvin after, being like, "OMG, we're BFFs now, like, let's go eat cookies and I'm gonna have an actual baby and you can live here," is like a bit weird.
Most bloody definitely.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's end that there, and I can safely say this is the worst film we've ever spoken about on the podcast. I would say you need to see it to believe it, but don't see it.
Don't see it. As Mark Kermode said, there is no pit in the world deep enough to dispose of every copy of the film. It is bad for the world and it is possessed by the devil.
Honestly, poetic words that speak truth to this evil, evil film.
Yeah.
Truly terrible.
It's not great.
And you've seen it 3 times.
Yeah, never again. 3rd time's the charm. I've now realised that I will not watch it again. It's actually been really nice talking about films that, like, not in a bad way, but like being able to talk about something without like thinking, praise, praise, praise. Like films that are difficult to talk about in a way of kind of constructive criticism and stuff. Like, no, Little Man is a bad film, and Tall Girl just kind of misses the mark. Because I feel we often choose films that, not that we know we'll like, but obviously, why would you watch something that you're not going to enjoy? So I think we should definitely find some more bad films and talk about them if we can put ourselves through it again.
Yeah, no, I feel like we should make this more of a recurring theme. Like you said, Little Tall Girl is definitely a film with some constructive criticism. Could have probably been a bit more watchable, whereas Little Man, beyond saving, I think it's just pure ridicule. I definitely know a few more films that are similar ilk that we could talk about. There's a film, I'm not sure if you've heard of it. I actually interviewed the costume designer for it, a very famous, well-known costume designer who worked on films like Milk. It's called Serenity. Have you heard of this film? It's got Matthew McConaughey in it and Anne Hathaway. It's a very big cast.
I don't think so. No, I've just Googled it. No, I've not seen it.
Okay, but don't read too much about it.
Okay, I won't. I'll go off of it.
It's batshit crazy, and I would love to just try and work it out with you because I remember I got sent a screener for it so that I could do this interview, and I just couldn't comprehend how so many talented people were involved in this film, and yet it was so crazy. And I remember saying to my brother that this film was coming out and that it would be known as one of the worst films of recent memory, just how bonkers it was. And yeah, it came out and it got absolutely slammed. So maybe that's one film we can do.
No, that sounds good. I'm excited for that. And I think that we're possibly going to watch Twilight, which again fills me with joy and also fear. Oh my.
Anna,
Yeah.
do you know on Twitter when you scroll down to the bottom of the trending page and you get kind of For You recommendations?
Yeah.
So typically I get football ones. Now I've started getting Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson ones. And Kristen Stewart I'd get. Robert Pattinson, not so much because I don't really ever search for anything related to him. Maybe it's just because they're so linked.
Maybe.
These Twilight fans still at it.
Oh my
Every
gosh,
day.
yeah.
Every day.
And I think is her name Stephanie Meyer, who wrote the books, is releasing a possible from I don't know, a different point of view or a prequel or something. And everyone on Twitter is like, we're so ready to get back into this fandom. I was never really part of it. I read the first book because I got gifted it for a Christmas present from my auntie and uncle one year. But I never read any of the others. And I always wanted to see the film, so a friend lended them to me. And I think I watched kind of half of them, but I can't really remember. But I just remember like it's like so dramatic and like what is going on and sparkly and stuff. It was crazy, and everyone was very like, "Are you Team Edward or Team what's the other guy's name? Jacob." So it was crazy. Like, oh my. So I am worried for if this book does get published, which obviously I'm excited for the fans who want it, but I'm also in fear of everyone else's lives on the earth because I think Twilight fans are another level. Like, go them for being so dedicated. Like, oh my gosh. But it does fill me with fear that there will be fights of Edward or Jacob.
And if we do a Twilight review and we are mean about it, I've never seen it, so who knows, I might love it. The Twilight fans will come for you, Anna.
That's the thing. It is a good story. I just feel the execution of the film is slightly cheesy. So we'll just have to talk about it on here and see.
Yep, so that's for in a few weeks' time. I'm very excited to finally watch those films. But that's all from us this week.
Yes, indeed. I feel a bit attacked by my height now, but YOLO. I'm just gonna live my life being short.
Anna, I've got a truth to tell you right here. You know that crate I've been carrying around all this time?
Oh my god. Yes.
I've been waiting for that tall girl moment.
I hope you get it. If you dream about it, you'll have to send it to that COVID dreams.
Yes, oh, that'd be epic. Now I'm gonna start doing that now. Just wait for the moment, just for the incredible romance.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. Always carry a crate around with you guys. You never know when you might need it. Oh my gosh.
I love it if she never kissed him. This poor guy just carrying a crate round for his whole life.
That would have been so funny if she'd have gone to him at the end and been like, "Yo, I realize who I am. Thanks so much for the shoes, but I want to be your friend. I'm happy on my own." And he was like, "Are you joking me? I've carried this crate around for the last 5 years." Oh, but luckily for Dirk, that she came around.
I want to see a sequel to this film. It's Dirk in like 50 years' time, and he's like living on the street. He's a little bit lost it, and he's just still got this crate, and he's standing on this crate, preaching to everyone. Like, okay, sorry,
Oh my
visual
gosh,
in my
don't
head.
apologize. So good.
Okay, goodbye, everyone.
Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Uh,